Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of playing The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Oh man, just another change of pace from the usual stuff that I do on this channel. I know people have been asking for a Wind Waker playthrough for a while, and I am happy to oblige because I haven't played the game in a while. If you don't know the channel, if y'all are new to the channel, usually what I'm posting are snippets of a fan project that I'm working on where I am 3D modeling the world of Hyrule as it could have existed within the world of the Wind Waker. And I've just realized that I haven't played the game in a second, and I need to just kind of like, if I'm doing this fan project, I need to be up to date on, what's actually in the game. I need to re-immerse myself in its story, its world, and all of the details that come with that. I love this stuff too, like talking about Prince Kamali's grandmother. We never meet her; she's not an NPC, but there's just enough text to just tell the story about just like the fact that Medley cares about her. She's not even, Kamali's grandmother's descendant, and like that's still a woman that she connects with. And I mean, like obviously she studied from her, right? She was her apprentice. But I don't know. It's like that's a character we never meet, and it's cool that there's just this. I guess like what I love about this game is, and part of what inspires my fan project is that I can tell that the writers were like they had more of a story to tell than just what ended up in the game. Like through the course of the game, we experience the legend of the Hero of Winds, and we get to see his story come to life. But we see Sunken Hyrule, and that tells us a little bit about what it meant for Ganon to return in between the events of Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. We get a taste of what's supposed to happen after the game through how the ending is handled. And so just like the way this game is made, the way the story is told tells us more than just what happens in this game. And I just think that that's just handled really intelligently. And I think that's cool that just like it's that immersive that like I don't know, like the world that the Wind Waker creates is bigger than just the Wind Waker itself. It's more than just what you see in the game. And that's what motivates my fan project where I'm remaking Hyrule. It's because just like I believe that the game developers left all those hints. And I think like obviously there's stuff I have to be creative about, but there are hints that they left where if I pay attention to the details, I'll be able to pick up a lot on, what they intended the world to look like. Beyond just what we saw in the game. What was, the sunken version of Hyrule? How did it line up with the overworld of the Great Sea? There's more detail in it than you may suspect, just on a first look. I think there's things that the designers really did care about. Obviously, there's things that like everything is motivated by game design and by like, the desire for a fun factor. But like, given that, it's like story is a part of that too. It's like you have fun with a well-designed game, but you have fun also enjoying a well-told story. I think that that's what works about Zelda. Is like part of the fun is the story, is the lore, and all this connective tissue that's just handled so smartly. And I think that's like Zelda at its best is when story and gameplay come together, and that's going to be a theme for the discussion through these Wind Waker episodes. Is just like when story and gameplay come together, that's when Zelda is at its best. But anyway. We're just plowing through the puzzles right now. I'm interested to see how long this dungeon takes just to time it out because I've never really like timed, a playthrough of this game before, and like it feels pretty quick to beat. I mean, I've beaten it plenty of times. That was embarrassing. I'm sorry y'all had to see that. That's just embarrassing. But yeah, I'm interested to see just like, like cover to cover, how long is it going to take me to do like what feels like a solid playthrough of the game. This isn't necessarily 100% playthrough. I don't feel the need to do every single side quest, but I do want to get like a majority of, of the game's experience in like during this playthrough, right? I want to do like the major side quests. But we're not necessarily going to finish the Nintendo Gallery or anything. I might not go to every C platform, etc. I may not dig up every treasure chart. These are things that just might not happen. But maybe some of it. Also, just I love like those Rito statues that we just bombed. That like I love like the artwork like that went into the modeling. Just like even low poly, like the artwork in this game Like the 3D artwork is just, it's beautiful. Like look at these. Like I think these are meant to be Gorons, but they have like the mustache and goatee. Like that's a unique design. I don't know, man. I'm assuming these are meant to be Gorons, but who knows really, right? Who knows? It's just like I do assume that this is Death Mountain, right? We're in Dragon Roost Cavern, but I assume that this is the equivalent of, you know, the interior of Death Mountain and its caverns. You know, if you compare it to Dodongo's Cavern or to the Fire Temple in Ocarina of Time, there's so many connections architecturally, through the music, you know, as well. That's been pointed out that Dragon Roost Cavern's music is a remix of Dodongo's Cavern. Like, that's clearly an intentional choice to connect the locations, aside from just being a fire-based dungeon, right? But like, this is the tallest mountain in the game. It makes sense that this is what became of Death Mountain, but you know, through erosion, you know, it's taken a different form. So, I don't know. I think that's really cool, and I think it's cool to just have those connections. And obviously, there's all this dragon imagery, but like the dragons aren't reminiscent of Velu. They look a lot more like Volvagia, right? So I don't know. I think the theories write themselves. I don't need to, you know, I mean, I don't know. Y'all are Wind Waker fans. Y'all have watched the Zeltic videos. I don't need to tell y'all what. I don't know. I assume that, right? Like I assume that everyone watching this channel has played Wind Waker before. That might not be true. There may be people watching this series that have never played the game before, and if you're new to the Zelda series or have never seen gameplay of the Wind Waker, then you're in for a treat, because this is just one of the most special games that have ever been made, in my opinion. And just like it holds up to this day. And like I know I'm biased because I have nostalgia for the game, but like that's my only bias. I keep returning to this game because I love it and because I think it's just so well made. I'm interested to like play through this dungeon just because like dungeon design, like when I think of Wind Waker, I don't think best dungeons in the series, but I do think it has strong dungeons. I think it has good dungeons. I think they're well designed, even if they're simple. And I guess that's the thing, is like they're not the most complex dungeons, but they're still fun. They have some great combat in them, for instance, even if you know the puzzles already. And the puzzles are still like engaging. I think about like the items, like a lot of the items that you solve puzzles with are still fun to use. I think about like the grappling hook, like that's still fun to use. Like the boomerang is still fun to use, and you know, through puzzles and combat. Deku Leaf, same with that, right? Like, you know, you get to fly, like that's awesome. And so many of the items are like, the game is still fun even if you know how to beat it. And I think that that's the mark of a good Zelda game. So it's like it doesn't even matter if it's easy to solve, because I solved it once and I didn't have to solve it after I knew what the solution was years ago. But yet the game is still fun to play, even despite knowing the solution and knowing where to go. Like, I knew this enemy was going to come out of this pot. Like, there's no surprises in the game for me anymore, and yet it's still fun. Oh, yeah, shout out to Joy Penance. Oh, yeah, that's a whole thing. I don't know if that's annoying for anyone, how many Joy Pendants we have to get, because Joy Pendants are a required item for the game. But I don't know, I love it. Like, it rewards you for exploring the world, for defeating enemies, you know, because they're dropped by bokoblins. So it's a reward for defeating enemies. So I don't know, just like the game incentivizes you to play it, and I mean sometimes requires it. Like I think about the Triforce quest at the end of the game, and we haven't really started. You know, we're nowhere close to really discussing that in any relevance. But that's a part of the game that requires that you go out of your way to play the side quests or play what feel like side quests, but really they're required parts of the game. And I don't mind that, because I love the Triforce quest. I love that, you know, this game that I love to explore, I don't mind that it requires that I explore it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's a bad thing, because exploration is what the game's about. So the fact that it tests you on exploration, I don't know. I think that's fine, because that's what this whole thing is all about. But anyway, this took almost every try. I don't know why that was so hard to get that bomb to blow up. Anyway, we're just moving through. Oh man, I think this is an interesting room because, like, I mean, obviously this is a linear dungeon experience, but it still has a central room. So I don't know. I don't know if there's people that take issue with that. That like, they like this is a classic Zelda dungeon design trope where you have a hub room connecting multiple parts of the dungeon, and yet like in this game, in this dungeon, like it's not like you don't have to intentionally circle back. I don't know. Like watch the Boss Keys episode on Wind Waker, if that doesn't really make sense to you. But it kind of talks about how in Wind Waker, like there are central rooms that you come back to, but the game escorts you back to them, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I think because like I don't know, like these dungeons are not labyrinthian, but I think it's still like a good use of space, and I don't feel like that's wasted. Like would it have been interesting to like backtrack a little bit? Sure, but like I don't mind that the game takes you through unique areas every time, you know. And I don't think backtracking is a waste of time, but I do respect that the game doesn't waste your time. If you have to go back to a room, you know, it takes you back there, you know, through a new area. You know, I don't think that's a bad thing. So I don't know. That's just kind of my take on it. Like I do think like it's always better when you get to unravel a dungeon's mystery yourself and like do backtracking on your own and figure out the way the rooms connect on your own. I think that is more engaging. But like, all right, like this game doesn't really have that element. It makes up for it in other elements. I guess I just don't mind it in this game, even if it is a weakness. Like, but I guess just like there's so many aspects of what makes a good dungeon that I'm not saying I feel like I can't even say that Wind Waker has weak dungeons. It just has like simpler dungeons, you know, just because like the dungeons are still like aesthetically well designed. They still have fun puzzles. The items are still fun. That even if the puzzles aren't super complex and the dungeon layouts aren't super complex and don't ask a lot of you, I still feel like the dungeons are good. So I don't know. I don't need to defend myself. I've made my stance. I'm not gonna ramble anymore about it. I think this is interesting. Look how like low res the wall texture is here, and I don't mind that at all. It's like there's such a difference, right, between the pixel density of the floor layer here and the wall, which almost feels like 2 pixels, right, on the wall. And yet, like it totally works for me. I don't mind it. I don't know. I think that's interesting because they could have like had a texture that repeated more for the wall. Like it takes a while to repeat, but so I don't know. I don't know why they chose not to tile it more because it tiles more in the overworld version of Dragon Roost Island. So I don't know. That's an interesting choice, in my opinion. Let's see if I remember how to solve this. I think I have to. I don't even know if I have to approach it from the sides. Yeah, I can just climb up. I mean, there's like rubies I'm missing, like by not doing that. But I don't need rubies. I don't need no rupees. Come on, I guess I have to listen to the King of Red Lions. Hey, have you seen any filthy thieving rats around? I know they're annoying, but keep your wits about you. They're only rats. If you spread bait near their... You know, I don't... maybe I do want it their treasure. How about it? All right, I'll give in this once. All right, buddy. Well, that did nothing. All right, I guess near their nests? Come on, man. Come on. I'm trying to work with you. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, buddy, what's up? I don't always do this, but let's see what they're selling. Delicious. Hey, I got something real good I'll sell for you. Real, for real. Well, what'll it be for you? All-purpose bait? Well, what a deal. I use bait to get bait. Okay, well, I guess not a good deal. This is... What a scam. How about this? I'll use bait one more time and then buy back the bait that I used. Genius, right? Hey, I got something real good for you. What'd it be? All-purpose bait. Boom. Just like that. 20 rubies. He's taking my money like a fiend. But whatever. Whatever. Anyway. Let's... Yeah, here's the rods. I love this, man. Like, just like... Because, like I was saying about wind earlier, like, I love the use of elements in this game. Like, burning away things and using fire. And that's something that, like, I feel like feels really natural in this game. You know, and it's not as, like... The scenarios in which fire and wind exist aren't as multiplicative as they are in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, right? I can use buzzwords, right? Multiplicative gameplay. But like they're still really well achieved, even if the scenarios are more like they're like specifically designed scenarios where you're using wind and fire. Even though wind, I guess, like wind direction is something that exists just anywhere in the overworld in Wind Waker still. But like fire is more curated the way it's designed, but like it still just feels really natural and it has a lot of uses, and I think that's cool. Like I don't know, it's just it I think it works really well. Even though I do miss, like I play the newer games and it is tough sometimes to like play the newer Switch games and come back to this game and it's like, oh, I can't set enemies on fire necessarily, or there's things like in the overworld that don't catch on fire. But so I don't know, it's like it doesn't really feel like a step back, but there are just things that like with interactivity that this game just doesn't really have. And that's fine. Like it still has enough that like it doesn't need all of those new things, those new shiny things, even though I think the new games are benefited by it. I don't know if y'all have been trying to get my opinion on like the new Switch games, and y'all are like, Joe, like, wait, I can use fire to hurt enemies. I think I just hurt a couple. Oh, I take it back. I don't know. Did I? I swear I just heard like a combat, or like a like I did damage. They're knocking my stick away more than anything. So I don't know, but I swear I did damage to them. Anyway, I guess like I love the new Switch games, but I do have critiques. So if I'm comparing them and I'm like, yeah, the Wind Waker is so much better than the like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, I may say that. I may also say, hey, like the new games they have progressed the series and they do new things I like too. I may also say that because I like the new games, but I do have criticisms and there's things that the Wind Waker does better. And so I'm interested just to replay this game now, kind of just like with all of that in mind, with that discussion in mind, and just like kind of see where that leads. So anyway, let's kill some bokoblins. Whee! Just like, man, like the air attack, just like, I don't know. It's just good combat design. All right, come back up. Let me hit you. I don't know. Like, even though, like, you know, attacking that enemy, there was some, like, points of invulnerability that, like, I had to wait it out. Like, it still feels like a very active battle system. I don't feel like I'm waiting around. Because sometimes in Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess, especially Twilight Princess, I feel like there's a lot of waiting for an enemy to show you its weak point. And I'm glad that this game doesn't have as much of that. Is this a bokoblin? Oh, but it's a joy pendant. Where are the bokoblins at? There it goes. There's one. All right. Do you have a joy pen on you? Do you have one? I'll be taking that. I'll be taking that. I'm sorry, guys. If y'all don't know that I'm a silly, goofy guy, if you haven't realized that by now, then you're realizing it now. I laugh to myself, and you may think that's strange, but you know what? I enjoy my own company. I can make myself laugh. I have no shame in that. All right, let's get that joy pendant and get out of here. Where is the... Yeah, here we go. I don't know if this counts as a torch. Can I call this a torch? I'll call this a torch. I don't know what to call it. It's not really a club, so I'll call it a torch. Because that is what it is, essentially, I guess. Anyway. I guess I don't know, like, is that implied to be, like, the stick of a tree? Is that, like, just what, like, sticks look like in this game? Or, because it kind of feels like they're all identical, right? And it feels like bokoblins could have just snatched it off a tree. Or, but, like, I don't know, like, are they supposed to be implied to be sculpted? Like, it seems like there's little nubs on them as if they're twigs. So, I don't know. Comment down below what you think they're supposed to be. I want to know y'all's opinion. That's just all I want. I want this to be a community-driven experience. You know? I don't know. I'm excited to read the comments of these videos because, I mean, this channel's gotten really big, and I guess sometimes I forget, like, how many viewers I have, and I feel really lucky that so many people are interested in the project and are subscribed to the channel. I feel really lucky. And I'm interested to see, like, y'all's response to these videos and, you know, being able to play this game with y'all. Because I imagine that most people who are fans of the channel are fans of the Wind Waker. I don't know, like, after the Game Rant article came out, I kind of second-guessed that a little bit. Because that, like, I don't know. I'm still so thankful that Game Rant wrote an article about my project about Wind Waker Unflooded. But they got stuff wrong, right? And they called it a mod, and I'm not making a mod. It's a 3D modeling project. That's the scope of it. To be clear, and they also kind of like the tone of the article kind of assumes that Wind Waker Unflooded is being made because I was unhappy with the choices of Wind Waker. It's like, oh, if you hated the Great Sea and the Wind Waker, here's someone that's taking the Great Sea away. You know, if you hated that element, now it's gone. And I'm like, well, I don't hate the Great Sea of the Wind Waker. I love the Great Sea of the Wind Waker. There's so much about the Wind Waker that I love. And I don't hate that Hyrule didn't exist in that game. I love the game and the way it's designed. I wish that Hyrule had existed in that game. I wish I could have explored it, but I don't hate that it was missing. I love the game as it is. I'm not trying to course correct here and change anything. I'm not trying to overcorrect for the game not being enough for me. So I don't know. And maybe the article wasn't really implying that, but I kind of felt like it was. And I think it's okay if you feel that way. I think it's okay if you were a fan who was disappointed with the Great Sea and you felt like there was too much sailing, etc., right? I think it's okay if you're disappointed by a game and have fair critiques. Obviously, there were fans that were disappointed with by the Wind Waker. And in the next game, Nintendo took out sailing, they took out the cel-shaded art style. Oh, let's go, Moblins! Oh, man, there's some of the most fun enemies to fight. I love the enemy AI in this game, man. I still think, it's almost second to none, except for maybe, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I think its combat, is really great because it builds upon the strengths of Wind Waker. But, before those games, the best combat in the series for me was Wind Waker. Skull Necklace, let's go! Let's go! These are great. Shown to the right person. Luckily, I know who that person is. Hey, Medley. Yeah, I came to rescue you. All right. What's terrible? Some creature's doing awful things to the Great Valu's tail. No, that's why he's angry. No. Well, that sucks. The Great Valu's tail hangs down in the room right below here. There's gotta be something in there. I wonder what it could be. I wonder if those mean monsters who captured me had something to do with it. We gotta do something. I'll go and tell everyone what's happening. Here, Joe, use this to get out. That's what I used to get this far. Do you still need it? Do you just want to give it to us? Okay. We'll take it. I'm not complaining. All right, got the grappling hook. Let's go. All right, set to Y, Z, or X. Now, I haven't talked about this yet, but I think it says a lot about you what button you use to equip certain items to. Because for me, the grappling hook is always an X button. The Wind Waker is always a Y button. Same with the telescope. It's a Y button. Excuse me, I lied. Grappling hook is a Z button. The sail is an X button, always. Wind Waker is Y, or telescope is Y. That's the rule. Excuse me, I misspoke. Grappling hook is a Z button for sure. It feels right to press Z and use the grappling hook. And this is something is that your mileage may vary. So, I don't know. I appreciate that you can, equip different items on different buttons, that it gives you the choice. Thank you, Zelda, for giving me the choice. Thank you, Wind Waker. I don't know, because even the sword being mapped to B, that's something that feels kind of default and standard. So it took me back. I played the Oracle games recently last year. I'd never really played them before. I played through half of Ages as a kid, but I didn't get super far. And so it was cool to revisit those games that I kind of grew up with and finish them. And it was kind of interesting that you got the choice to map the sword wherever you wanted. And I had a friend who preferred playing with the sword as an A button item. It just totally caught me off guard. Because that's just something that it was so intuitive that the sword was a B item. And to him, it was just way more natural to press A to use the sword. But that was also on a Switch Joy-Con controller. So that also changes things, right? On a GameCube controller, all the buttons are different. They have different shapes. So that's something that back in the day, the idea of button mapping, feeling like X, Y, Z, those are all specifically tied to how I feel that different items should feel. That is more of an old school issue. And now that Y, X, and A and B are all feel like the same button on Switch, that does change things. But on a GameCube controller, like things are different. And I don't know, like sometimes I miss the GameCube controller, and like how it felt to like mash like the A button and how big it was, and the B button was like nice and small, and like it all felt right. It all felt like tied to the use of the button. No, no, no! Everything goes wrong. But I guess like I do like how versatile the Switch controller is, and like how adaptable it is, and like with Joy Cons, like you can spin them around as well, right? And I like that element of it. That like, controllers have different orientations, and like I think that that's worth like sacrificing. It's worth sacrificing the different shapes of buttons, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm not so old school. I feel old school in some ways. I think about the way I grew up, and some things were better then, but not everything. I feel lucky that like the Switch like makes things portable. I don't long for the olden days. I think it's awesome that we have a portable console that is also like a home console. That like the newest games can come out and you can play them on the TV, or you can play them in the car. And I just remember back in the day we didn't have that luxury. If I wanted to play like Lego Star Wars, I could play the GameCube version, and that was the best version of it. And if I wanted to play it portably, I wasn't playing the GameCube version. I was playing actually a pretty close version of it, the DS version. Like the regular Nintendo DS, it had a really good version of Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga that I felt like was a really good, close emulation of like, the home console version, on like GameCube and Wii. The DS version like really captures that. Like it's different and it feels different, but in a lot of ways, like, it feels the same. So I don't know. If y'all have played like Lego Star Wars on GameCube and compared it to the DS version, like y'all know what I mean. Y'all know how similar they really are, even though there's differences. So let's see. We're just kind of cruising through this dungeon. I guess like like I said, it's like I can play these dungeons on autopilot. I can talk through them, do video narrations, and not have to think too hard. But like I'm still having fun. And there's Zelda dungeons that like aren't like that. Like if I'm playing, I shouldn't have done that. If I played like the Oracle games, I would have to think through those dungeons. If I was playing the Water Temple, I'd really have to think through it in Ocarina of Time. But a game like Wind Waker, like it's not as hard, it's not as taxing mentally. But that's okay. It's like it has other things that do ask of your skill, So I don't know, like puzzle solving, and also it's like I've done all these puzzles before, so it's like there's things that are like challenging on your first playthrough that just aren't challenging on your 20th. That's just how it goes. But the game's still fun. I'm still enjoying it, even knowing how to complete the puzzles. So I don't know. It's like I think it's been interesting. Just like it's been interesting to just, like time out the dungeon and just to see how long it's taken, because it still takes time, and like like you still have to navigate it and like go through each puzzle and defeat the enemies, and that all still takes time, even when you know everything. So it's not just a walk in the park necessarily, even though it is pretty simple. Is that enemy gonna? Please, I don't want it to annoy me when I'm swinging. Let's see. Let's see if I can in a minute like get back up to where the boss room door is, and then I think that'll be it for this video. We'll see how long that takes. I don't know. We may quit this episode before then. We'll see how long it takes. I do want to like complete the dungeon though, so I don't know. Maybe I'll even like go as far as like completing the boss. I might as well just go all the way, right? Oh, nice. That was a good jump. Look at me. I don't know if y'all know this. I'm kind of like a pro gamer. I'm what you call an expert. I'm playing on expert mode. I don't know if y'all know how good I am, how talented I am, but I'm a really good gamer. I joke, I jest. Y'all are gonna see me like screw up in Ganon's tower in one of the rooms. I'm gonna be like, what am I supposed to do? I'm gonna totally forget everything. Because I feel like I do have blind spots in this game. I don't have many, but like I'll be chilling and then I'll find one room and I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to do? So there aren't too many of those though. Most of them I know what to do. Most of them. I don't know. Like there are other games I do feel differently about different games, or like I'm at different points with different games, right? Like Twilight Princess, like I've done several playthroughs of, but it's been a while, and I go longer periods of time before I replay Twilight Princess. So I don't know. I'd be interested in doing a playthrough of that. If you want me to play through other Zelda games on the channel, I'd be happy to. I love the series, and I'd love to play those on air, and bring y'all along for the ride if y'all are interested in that. I love the series, and I guess just like, I don't know, if y'all are looking for like someone playing through the games who really has a love for them, then you're in the right place. You know, so I don't know. It's like, because I get different things out of watching different people play the games. Because like watching Game Grumps, like they didn't know the puzzles, like they had to kind of figure it out, and so it was satisfying to watch them figure it out. And you're not getting that with my videos. I've played these games before. I know what I'm getting into. So with my videos, the experience is just like sharing them with y'all and sharing them with such just a deep love for the franchise. Also paired with the challenge of working on my fan project with Wind Waker Unflooded, and just trying to, you know, parse through this game, you know, figure out if that can teach me anything that might inform creative decisions for my fan project. Because there may be things that I suddenly get to and I'm like, I forgot that this said this. This changes what I think is below this island, right? Etc. So I don't know. Oh, come on, man. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. That's close. This boss, it's like, if you get the timing wrong, it can legit like mess you up. Am I gonna? Yeah, there we go. I thought that would get me to the ledge. I don't know. The ledge isn't necessary, but it does give you a good you know, leg up on the boss. Just having a little bit of that elevation. It's harder for it to reach you up there. But either way, I still get enough time to prep for my next attack as it rises up out of the depths. And here we go. Here we go, please. I mean, the boss isn't too hard. It's just if you mess up the timing, you know, you might get stuck, and it might hit you. So you have to be careful there. But we're gonna get this pretty easily. So let's go ahead and line up my grappling hook again. I love the scale of it though, man. Like, once again, like I was talking in a previous episode just about like what I love about like going into like the belly of the beast, so to speak, and the fact that like the game like allows you, like, as your quest, you get to do big things early. Like, your first adventures feel big. The first part of the quest feels like a huge like accomplishment, even though it's still early in the game. And part of that is just like the bosses are huge. You get to fight giant monsters. You climb mountains. You save people. And, you know, you get to confront the Forsaken Fortress. You go to Ganon's lair first. Like, I think the game just does a really good job of just like throwing you into it and feeling like you're doing something big, even when you're still early on in the game. Not every Zelda game does that. Like Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, I don't necessarily feel that at first. Twilight Princess actually does a pretty good job of like taking you to Hyrule Castle early on, and that feels huge. But like once you get into the Forest Temple, it's like, you know, you're early on in the game. But Wind Waker, just like everything feels climactic in its own way, and that's just really nice. But anyway, we beat the boss. That wasn't too hard, was it? Oh, but it's epic. I love the music. I love all the music. This is, I mean, it's got to be my favorite Zelda soundtrack. And I love this like design on Goma, because in the other games, Goma's usually like kind of a spider-looking thing. And so just this giant kind of scorpion design, and it's huge. It's just way more intimidating. I just love it. I could gush about it. And just, oh, the sound design on that. Someone told me recently that sound effect for when you hear the wind at the end of a boss fight is the same sound effect that plays, like, it's a sample that they use during the Final Hours song in Majora's Mask. I totally did not place it. They have totally different emotions, but just that soft little pad, it's like, you know, I don't know, like, it has this really ominous feeling in Majora's Mask, but in Wind Waker it feels very soothing. It's a reward for finishing the dungeon. And I guess like in Majora's Mask it's ominous, but it's also soothing as kind of a lullaby. It's like the end is coming soon, like, you know, and there's nothing you can do. Don't worry, right? So it's I don't know, maybe it has a similar tone, a more similar tone than I expect. Just to be fair. To be fair. I love that sound too, just Valu's roar. The sound design in this game, man. including the voiceover. Because, like, obviously, like, this game doesn't have voice acting, but it does have voiceover, right? And there are many characters that grunt and express themselves, and Link is incredible. Like, I mean, it is voice acting. It's just not, like, words. I count it as voice acting. So I don't know. Like, I love that this game it's so expressive, and, like, this is something that, I don't know, like, I think the series, like, Zelda as a whole has great voice acting. Anyway, thank you, Medley. Thank you for this. Or no, Prince Kamali is handing it to us. Oh, I mean, like I was saying earlier, I just love the growth of this character and just the fact that you can inspire this kid. Like that's just, oh, it's touching. It's like you didn't get to save your sister yet, but as you grow in power, you get to save someone else. So, and I guess I love that, like, you don't feel like you're wasting time on your journey. You're not just going from dungeon to dungeon, wasting your time, kind of like you feel like you are in Skyward Sword a bit. And I love Skyward Sword, but you feel like you're kind of spinning your wheels when you go from dungeon to dungeon. And here, it's like every stop you make, even if you're just getting a pearl at the end, you're still helping someone out. Whether that's saving Medley or saving Makar, right? Like, you're doing something important in every dungeon. And usually it's connected to a character. And I love that. So, well, I'm going to go and visit Valoo. All right. That's awesome. So, y'all, I mean, thank you so much for watching. I think we're going to wrap up after this cutscene. I love this. I love that moment of, like, you know what? Like, you did it, Link. You saved the day. And obviously there's still stuff left to do. You have to confront Ganon. But that's just a really nice reward for beating the dungeon. It's just like being able to see the people that you've helped. Because that's what Zelda is about. We can say it's about dungeons and it's about adventure and all of these things, but ultimately, I think it's like the real heroism is about helping people. I think Wind Waker does that, shows that maybe better than any other game. But anyway, without further ado, I will see you all in the next video. See you then.